corner where the treats at.
Is this the passing of the torch, right? Is this what this signifies?
It comes down to that front office and what they feel is most important.
The champ is here. We touched down from a higher plane. Why you made it here?
We always look forward to that week because it was always intense.
You know that we ain't coming back. We about to.
The man, the myth, the legend, Dante Hall. My favorite player growing up was Dante Hall. I love you guys in the show, but Dante was my guy.
Get to dashing because you done on the warfare.
This episode of Chief Concerns is brought to you by betonline.ag. Hey there, Marcus Dash here from Chief Concerns. Just want to comment and say BetOnline is your #1 source for all your sports betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for football, baseball, boxing, golf, and much more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online where the game starts. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Chief Concerns. I'm Marcus Dash here with my guy, Jason Dunn, former Chiefs tight end, and my brother, Teja Dash, obviously coming off a week where all of us had the Chiefs winning on Christmas Day. A betting show to forget. I'll say that. It was a great episode. I love the whole Brady conversation that we had. But as far as the betting aspect of it, it's a week we can all forget about, and hopefully we don't have to think about ever again.
It's almost it didn't even matter what you bet on. The way the offense just performed, you wasn't hitting anything. I don't care what it was.
Nothing.
But I'm sure they don't they have bets that are like are the negative side of things too? Like
the under.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
That was the one that I think hit Pacheco under.
Yeah. That was the only one that we hit. Yeah.
We didn't take a Rice.
Did Rice have over 50 yards receiving? If he did, then yeah, we hit that too. But I mean, I feel like most of my bets were tied to Mahomes' really big game that he was supposed to have, and that didn't happen.
Yeah.
But hopefully this week,
it definitely didn't happen.
Yeah, but hopefully this week, fingers crossed, Mahomes and the guy and the fellas are back to doing their thing. But before we get to the bets, JD has had some conversations with people online about check downs and what is a check down. He made reference to it during our episode this week. And also JD's had some back and forth with other people. I recommend all of our listeners and viewers go on Twitter, look at JD's back and forth based on our video about Eric Bieniemy potentially coming back to Kansas City. JD's had some back and forth. JD, do you have anything you want to say or anything you want to add about some of the back and forths you've had?
Some of the back and forths. You know what, man? I usually don't give like negative, people that comment and followers. I really don't give them a lot of win. I don't. I'll get into it. Since I've been battling this flu in the house, I had a chance to be on Twitter today, Marcus.
Yeah. Are you feeling better, by the way? Are you feeling better?
I am. Yeah. I mean, tons better. And I wasn't really feeling that bad, but man, I think I'm good. So,
yeah, T did you right.
Yeah. But man, the thing is, we were talking about EB coming back, and even if that's a possibility, like what all the scenarios it would take to get EB back here. One of them, of course, is he had to be fired from the Commanders. Okay, that has to be one of the things. The main thing is if the Chiefs want him back. No, I'll take that back. Let me go back one step further. The main thing is, does he want to come back?
Yeah,
that's the question. And so we can go through different scenarios about what we want and it'd be great to see. Look, it'd be great to have Tyreek Hill back. Okay. Maybe we could get Tom to come out of retirement or somebody, Randy Moss. I made something like that. Like what are we pushing for to make the Chiefs right? Is he going to rectify everything that's going wrong with the Chiefs right now? And especially with this type of window that you have coming from the Commanders coming to the Chiefs, if that was the most unlikely scenario, what would that do? Would it be enough time to make that type of impact? That's really a question people have to ask. And so I get, we do hypotheticals and people wish and hope, we wanted D-Hop to be here, right? Didn't happen. So
Still do.
Yeah, still do. So, but my thing is, I think sometimes it get nasty. One of the comments, this guy tried to make it about race. The only reason he basically said something to the effect of, like I wanted the Chiefs to lose just so EB could be in a better light, to say that we needed him. And I'm like, the craziness of even just that statement, like there's some type of ulterior motive for me that I want the Chiefs to lose. Does he know who I am? Has he seen our channel? Has he watched and heard me talk about, if anything, the consummate optimist? If anything, I'm saying we can win with the staff that we have. I'm still in that boat. I do believe that we got the people in the room get things done. We're not out of this by no means, no measure. And I also made the point that EB could come here and he could do some things, but you have to rearrange a lot of different stuff. You have to. If you in place a system and a way to do things, to almost implode that for the last few weeks may even cause even a little bit more chaos.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So
yeah, totally.
If it's something that we're saying maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago, sure, possible, right? That definitely possible scenario. But we're talking about at the very end of the season,
Playoffs, pretty much.
And playoffs. That's what playoffs.
Well, no, not even end of season, because if he gets fired after the last game, like just playoffs.
Just playoffs.
Even if there were 2 games before the playoffs, it would give him 2 games to kind of figure out their hierarchy, who says what when it's Nagy, when it's EB. Yeah. You can figure out a little the dynamic before the playoffs, but if it's just playoffs, forget about it. That's it.
Forget about it, man. That in itself is the crazy part to me, and that's got to be considered. And so my thing, and obviously I'm sitting there like, well, what about EB in all of this? What would he want? Right? I know what the fans are like. We obviously we become selfish. We want things to work in a lot of different ways. So people's been on the fence a lot of different ways, man. It is.
If I'm playing devil's advocate, JD, what do you think a negative? What would be a drawback if you were EB to doing it?
One of the things I've said that to me, this is a lateral move. I think EB, he left Kansas City because he wanted to make his own way, his own track. And I think he needs to stay on that path. I really do. I don't believe in regressing or going back in certain things, in certain areas.
Okay.
He's done enough here, for one, okay, to warrant him getting a head coaching job. I don't feel like he needs to come back to be the savior of the Chiefs. We don't even know, and let's just speak practically about things.
Okay.
We can't always say just one person is going to be able to make this thing work.
Sure.
It just isn't, and so his attitude, what he brings here, we know his value, what he brings to the table. Okay. They've been very successful with EB here, but also too, Teja, when AB was here, there were some things he wasn't even getting credit for. So let's say he comes back, things change. And when
he also had bumps in the road with EB too.
Sure, absolutely, no question about it.
A lot more good times, obviously, but
a lot of great times.
Some headbutts, some like yelling on the sidelines, some stuff.
So that would be part of the possible drawback with it, as far as like with him. I would think at least like, hey man, look, if they asked me to come back, I had to consider that. I had to consider for my career if this is really what I want to do. Okay. So if you're looking to become a head coach and you're just coming in, like you're saying, let's parachute you down from, the plane to get you in here to Arrowhead to change everything around and run it your way, or at least, put your hand in things. What is it going to turn around? What's going to change in enough time? He can't catch for us. Okay, right? He's not going to be able to block for us. Okay, some of the concepts and systems he's going to have to take at it and maybe dismantle it and get it right. And we're talking about communication, like you said, the hierarchy. How's that going to work? So there's a lot of different variables and scenarios that have to happen, right, to make that right. And so I don't think it's a practical move. I love to have EB come back. Everybody would. Shoot, why let him leave to begin with? If that's the case. Yeah. So but go ahead. I'll say this, and I do believe, like I said before, that look, this right here that's going on, they cooked this pot. They stirred this stew into what they wanted to make it. All right. Let them the chef that's here, let them deal with it. Let them deal with it. They know what the recipe is. Okay. They got the ingredients. They've been working on it to try to perfect it to get better. Yeah. So we got to allow them that time for it to happen. And so part of that here's a novelty thought. Here's a novelty thought. I wanted to put this out here. I said it on the show. What about guys police themselves? What about that? How about we had the players actually police themselves, hold each other accountable, try to motivate one another to get things done. Yeah. So I don't think EB is the answer to all and be all.
You're saying it's an internal problem that should be handled internally.
It has to be handled internally, right? Like I said, if there's something that you need to get from EB, you could call EB if you needed to. As far as philosophy-wise on things, for sure. But having to come in to be an authoritarian, is that going to work? That there's new personalities that's in house that don't know EB that he has to talk to, right? Which he would do a good job of. I'm not saying that he's more than capable of coming here and helping.
Sure.
Okay? So I'm not saying that. But yeah, how does that look through things? But go ahead.
I was just going to say, and Marcus and I talked about this obviously recently. I think there's two ways. So there's the EB and there's for the Chiefs, right? So negative and positive for EB, my opinion. I think you hit it on the head. I think negative would be for him for not to come back. I think he's gotten kind of the Chiefs and EB out of the mainstream a little bit. He's finally separated himself from Kansas City as a coach. We know him as a good offensive mind now. He's not the byproduct of the Chiefs because he's done a good job with Washington in flashes and in a lot of games, right?
Yeah.
But to come back would be kind of like resetting a little bit. Oh, you're back to your EB and the Chiefs again. Cool. But are you sure you want to leave that? You seem like that's your thing now. So that is a negative for him. Mm-hmm. Positive though, when I heard you talking, I almost thought that if he came back just for our postseason run, it would also mean he might continue to be a coach. If he was like, look, I'm coming in, I'm going to help out where I can. This is not my ship right now, but if I make a difference in there and you feel like we can get to a Super Bowl win, sure, I'll do another month of coaching, right? That's really what it is at this point. But after that, I'm out. It's going to hopefully helps me get a job on top of what I did with Washington. Now I'd obviously be okay with that. Any difference positive that it would make would be great. For the Chiefs negative, again, we said it again, hierarchy. Will that cause more problems than it does help? Right. That's the only thing for the Chiefs I see as a negative. But positive, obviously, would be, hey, man, if he makes a 5% difference to the positive, why not? Clark's money.
And that negative draws into next season too, though, because then he comes in. Let's say all of us does look decent, but we don't win Super Bowl. We lose in the AFC Championship game, right? But EB's gone. He said, hey, I literally came to try and make a difference for us. Got us the AFC Championship, bails, and then we're stuck oh man, how are we gonna make up for that? We're gonna go back. We're gonna regress back to what we were week 7, week 16, and stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of different narratives.
And if you're the Chiefs, do you feel like you can't go on without EB? What if it's oh shit, man, he might actually be a 50% reason for a lot of this. Can we overpay him through the nose to stay as an offensive coordinator? And if he does a good job and you do want to pay through the nose, he'll most likely get a head coaching job at that point. He'll be gone to get his own job.
Have you guys ever heard, because someone had commented, because we had this topic on the show this week, and someone had commented saying, like, bring EB back. I don't care what it takes as far as money-wise, but also have a stipulation within the contract that the moment that Andy Reid retires, I'm next in line kind of thing. Have you ever heard of something like that where that is instilled in like in a contract? I mean, obviously, you never know. I mean, we could be the first ones to ever do something like that, but like, have you ever heard of such a thing?
I'm sure they work things behind the scenes all the time. And it's just wording in the contract. It's really what it is, right? And the thing is that something that's guaranteed? We don't know this. And this is something I'm saying, even with the rules of what they are, I'm not even sure that if you're still able to do something like this right now. Because I said I was texting Al today. He's having a great time with his grandchildren. We was just talking. I said, look, I'll get back to him when you get a chance, right? Because I was going to ask him about some of those things. As being a coach, right? He's been a head coach. He's been a coordinator. He's done it all. Been in every position there is. So he would know every a scenario that these things can happen. But you could work probably whatever wording into any type of contract.
You can also get out of it too, probably.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, absolutely.
Wording on that too. Well, if you read line 7, we don't actually have to give you that job anymore.
Yeah, appreciate it. Hey, listen, we didn't win the Super Bowl. Appreciate you coming, right? And just like, dang God, how would that feel? I mean, honestly, this is what I'm talking about. Like, so nobody's even considering his feeling in this.
Yeah.
And I get this is the selfish mentality I'm talking about that we have as fans, or some fans have. And I'm like, hold on, man. Like, let's just be honest here. Let's talk about a few things, right? We got to consider Nagy and got to consider those things. So there's a lot of people you got to talk to on that. Believe me, about how is this going to work. So it's not an easy fix. Like, it ain't like, I don't know. What's the comparison?
It definitely puts Nagy in a weird spot because he kind of has to say yes to that, even though he doesn't want to. But he wants to be a team player, so he'd be like, "Yeah, you're gonna bring your ex back in? Yeah, okay, sure. I see how that works. That's okay. Yeah, I love it. It's great. I should have thought of that."
Look, there's big job security. I was actually part of where a coordinator got replaced and he stayed on staff when I played. That was in Philly. Okay, and it happened. And it was very weird, but this was mid-season, and the coordinator, he knew what he wanted to do. But he was on staff. He was already on staff. It wasn't like he was coming from a different team. He was there already on staff. They just said, okay, man, we're going to demote you, promote another guy. And the other guy was like, look, Jason, I know what I want to do with you, what I want to do with the offense, is how I want it to work. So he already had a plan in place. EB has been scripting everything, planning everything for the Commanders the entire season. It takes a lot of work, a lot of effort to do that, especially with the pieces that you have. He's coming in, and this is what I'm talking about. Like, you have to think about all the changes and the variables coming in on, okay, what can I do? How do I make a difference? And if we say that 5%, right? Who's to say that 5% is in the right way that we need it for it to be?
Sure.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, look, these guys have been storing this thing together for quite some time. Okay. So at a certain point, that you got to be able to trust. And guys are still, we've heard Andy and those guys, look, we're trusting in it. We're going to stay with our program. We got to trust the process, guys. We got to trust the process.
I like that.
Right? Yeah. And so this is where I am with it. But the guy brought it up to saying, this and because he's a black head coach and black player. It's like,
EB will do it if he thinks it's beneficial for him, and that's the bottom line. And there's no problem with that. If he thinks he can get good press off of it, and it might help him get a job even faster, then sure, why not?
We don't even know the man's going to be fired.
I know. 20-minute conversation based on a complete hypothetical. By the way, that's sports, though, right? Like this is why we like it so much. It's like,
right, yeah. He might be watching our channel like that. I didn't know I was getting fired at the end of the season.
Yeah. He's like, these guys got my job planned out. My next 6 months planned out. Like,
right.
Yeah.
So, man, look, he's made Sam Howell look incredible. Okay, he's changed this guy around into a player.
Yeah.
Is there any bet online that's doing EB's next? That's a good bet.
That is a good bet. Yeah.
I wonder what the odds on EB coming to the Chiefs would be if he got fired at season's end.
I don't know, man.
So JD, so that was one of the conversations you had this week. Another one was about check downs. Someone was trying to tell JD what a check down was on online. So JD, we're gonna kind of break that down right now. I have a video clip. Do you want me to run that up right now?
Yeah, you can just run it, man. It was just what I'll do, I'll prompt it to saying, what I was trying to explain about check downs is that anytime you're running a route combination, you got to understand that there's reads, okay? And it's usually you have, progressions, first, second, and third progression. That's how it works, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And once you go through your progression, then your check down comes to your outlet. So that's usually your safety valve or your outlet. It's usually like a back in the flat, or maybe him running an out route, or maybe a shallow cross from the backside, or a tight end. Those are usually like your safety valves or your check downs. That is what an official check down is. I had a conversation with Ted Yin on Twitter, and he was talking about, he was just saying, quote, check downs, because of what Dante was talking about. That whole Dante came on Good Morning Football or whatever the show is, right? He was on that, and he was talking about, hey, sometime Patrick may want to get in love with the mundane. I get that. I think what he was saying also, too, not putting words in his mouth, is sometimes we see that Patrick tries to do maybe a little bit too much or hold the ball in his hand a little bit too long, as opposed to utilizing the check down. And so, Ted, you said, well, he's been checking down. He's been the most checked down quarterback in the last 2 years. He did it last year. And I went back and I checked it, and PFF was like, no. And I knew it wasn't. I'm like, hold on, what are you talking about? Because Pat utilizes his legs. He extends the plays with his legs so much that sometimes he just misses the check down. So that is his superpower, is making plays with his legs, extending plays. But sometimes what ends up happening, that's when the magic comes in, where he'll, shuffle pass to somebody, or, he'll get creative doing those things. But those not necessarily check downs. So sometimes maybe a first read, hitting a guy on like a 5-yard, hitch or something, isn't particularly a check down either. That might just be a first read. So I think it's, man, it's when people start getting into what check downs are, and I start realizing, I'm like, oh, I get it. People don't really understand what check downs are. They're using the check downs, the word check down, transitionally to encompass a little bit more than what it had been.
Actually is, yeah.
Yeah. And so people start thinking check downs are just meaning short passes. That's not what a check down is.
Yeah.
Now you could some scenarios, some people may say that, well, just check down to the short receiver, right? But historically, what a check down is you go through your progression 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, check down. 1, check down. Okay, that's your outlet. And so this is part of the thing that Dante was saying, and especially what I'm saying about check downs is, instead of Pat running and putting himself in harm's way, give it to a better runner like the back. Swing the ball to CEH or Pacheco or McKinnon and let them run. They do a much better job eluding people, running them over, and getting yards.
Yeah.
Check downs is something that, will move the chains. And sometimes what you end up doing is you stretch the defense even more, where you actually pressure them to cover the entire field. So it's always hard. Check downs is an incredible weapon to utilize in an offensive system. But go ahead, Marcus. I know you wanted to show this film a little bit, and I guess this might get just a little.
I thought it was funny, though, the person that you're arguing with, Ted Nguyen, he's the athletics, one of the football analysis guys, one of the football film analysis guys.
Yeah.
And, And I'm not trying to knock the guy at all, but like in the back and forth with you, this is why like sometimes when people like just because they have the check mark next to the name, just because they do certain film analysis for a certain network, they don't know what they're talking about. And he even says that essentially talking to you. The one that I thought was amazing was my point with quoting checkdowns is that I don't know how people define them. Wait, what? But you're the football film analysis guy. How do you not know how people define them? I was just trying to say he threw the ball short plenty. I mean, that's just like people go to this guy and he's
backtracking a little bit.
Yeah, he's people quote this guy. It's like as the word of God when it comes to like football analysis and film breakdowns. So I just think it's so funny that you know.
Well, and the thing was, what I was really trying to do is I was trying to kind of put a spotlight on, a little bit more intricate parts of what checkdowns actually mean.
Right.
Okay? And sometimes if you just listen to somebody, not taking anything from him because he does a great job. He does a tremendous job. I follow him. Great stuff.
Right.
But sometimes when you go into the parts of like explaining what things actually are, there's a little bit more detail involved in it.
Sure.
I don't want people to start thinking like every short pass is a check down because it's not. It's not. And in case in point, I think he said the one they showed where he was throwing to Justin Watson on the smash route. That's not a check down. That's a read that Patrick's looking at. That's his first read. As soon as he sees the corner belling, okay, soft corner or whatnot, he knows immediately he's going to the hitch. Man, I was listening to Kurt Warner, and I talked to Trent today a little bit about this as well. We just talked about the smash concept. Trent said he can't wait to get on the show, man. He wants to get on the show. So
hell yeah,
man, seriously. But we were just talking about it, and I was just like, Kurt was making a great point that the hitch that he ran, okay, or the pivot should have been shorter, shouldn't have widened than that. Almost like his route that he ran opened the door almost for it to get picked. He ran it deep. He ran like a deep 8 to 10 yard pivot route and hitch, where he should have probably stayed on like the inside and kept him on his back shoulder. Because what you want to try to do is eat up that corner for him to designate who's he going to take. Are you going to play soft and go ahead and take the deep third? Or are you going to go ahead and take the hitch and the pivot, which opens up the corner route even deeper, right? When you got single safety. And that's what the look. But Pat sees it. He throws it immediately because he's reading the corner. Okay, you got a soft corner. He's bailing. Well, if Justin, and this is kind of like some of the issue where where it looks like they might not be on the same page because you got a lot of leeway what happens with certain routes. It's not as crisp. It's not as defined. It looks like Pat's waiting for him to hit you like 6 yards. That's the way you should work, right? Like, why would you run an 8 or 10 yard hitch when you got a corner route that's supposed to be 12 to 15? Like, there's no space in there. There's like you're making it muddled for the quarterback. I know why Patrick's mind is going crazy right now because of things like that. When you don't have clear windows to make it throw, then it makes it harder for him to do. That's why he's sitting over looking at Rashid Rice like, oh, man, just turn around and just catch the football. Like, just stay right there. That's why he's making throw to MVS, and it's behind me. Because some of the timing is off, and we're not on the same page as far as, like, what am I looking for? What is the throw? And so he's not playing at the level he needs to be playing at because to him, it's where we supposed to be at, right? So go ahead, man. I know I'm long-winded about things, but man.
No, you're good. You're good.
Sorry, man.
Hearing a QB and a tight end talk about this stuff, I love hearing that.
Just, yeah. It drives us crazy, man. I'm just telling you. So go ahead.
All right, so this is a little check down here. So what are we seeing here, JD?
So we're looking
a little swing pass.
Little swing pass. So immediately know the check down. So we're looking at trips on the left. And so we know right here, the 4 guys that's going in the route, you got a backside out route, okay, which should be Pat's first read. Then you got the 3 guys who's running. This is basically a pretty simple spacing concept. So his check down is he scans. He should be scanning out to Kelsey, to this guy who's over the middle, to the outside guy. Now check down. Doesn't have anybody, check down. That's what the check down is. So he's going through his progression. 1, 2, 3, doesn't have it, check down. He already knows what the check down is going to be. You'll see him scan. You'll see him look. So he bounce, 1, 2, check down. That's the check down. That's what he's looking for. So he already feels like nobody's going to be open on this because of the coverage that he's getting. And everybody's covered. And I'll make a point right here too. Go back a little bit. I don't know who this inside receiver is. I don't know who that is. But this is what I'm talking about. Like,
right, the one who says the little hitch.
Yes,
I think it's Hardman.
Okay, you see how he's just kind of looking back and he's turning, and so he's almost looking for Pat to throw it. And you could, when you go to the other view, this is kind of like where, see how he's kind of just drifting and moving, like there's no pronouncement. He's looking right, keep, and he's just looking, and he's just like moving and shuffling.
Oh, that's Tyreek, actually.
Is that time? Okay, yeah. So when you do things like that, it's like, okay, we're gonna get the ball out of my hand quick, right? But it's like there's the leeway to do these things. Well, Tyreek's been in the system for a long time. He started learning who Tyreek is, right? They learned it. They play together, so he's getting a little bit better feel. But now you're asking a young guy, Rashid Rice, to come in and do the same thing, who's coming from college. You're asking Kadarius Toney, who's come from a different system with the Giants. Same thing with MVS, who might not be a strong suit to do that thing. And you got a guy in Sky Moore doing the same thing, who's learning. It takes time to develop that timing. That's why him and Kelsey are on such a same page, because they got a feel for one another. Okay, that didn't just happen overnight. It took time to develop that. So that's the check down. Okay.
It does take time, because you can see even with someone like Rashid Rice, who he's been throwing at nonstop the second half of the season. Even they were off a little bit on certain like timing and what he wanted him to do compared to what he actually did.
Yeah, I went through probably, I thought I had time on my hands, so I went through about 6 games last night, and I was watching just how much the timing has been off, how much it's affected these guys. And I'll even say this. It's almost like the scenario, let me just be completely honest how I feel about this. I believe the scenario that happened with the Bills at the end of the game really did something to them mentally. Like it kind of, like the work that they put in to get better and progress, it took a step back because of the controversy, right? And then before that, all you could see was the controversy. That was it. That's all you could see. And so Pat could move on to the very next play. It was almost like nobody could move on to the very next play to try to make it. Like you had time and downs. You still had time and downs.
I know.
But because of how everything went, the focus was off.
He was so distracted.
Completely distracted. And so it carried over to the next week. Because why? Because then all of a sudden you start blaming the refs and everything else and all the, as opposed to going to the players and say, hey, look, man, we need to be on top of our game. We had to worry about the refs. And it just carried over into the press that you couldn't get, there was no way you could get past it, right? The greatest play that would never be shown again. That's what we kept hearing.
Yeah. And he had to make a statement about the Josh Allen thing. It was just like he was doing PR till like midweek, mid-late week.
Come on. Too much. It's too much. Who wants to do that and try to win games? Hey, you got enough to worry about. And so now all of a sudden you throw them into this whole, scandal that's going on with the refs and all these different things. Well, guess what? It affects the guys. And so you need your top guys playing at a high level all the time. You need them playing at a high level all the time. And so when you see the frustration like this last game, where you're not moving the football, nothing's consistent, and you see Kelsey comes over throwing his helmet and Patrick is still visibly frustrated with guys, and that just permeates. It just goes through everything. And I was saying before, for the guys who are not playing well, you always look for your top dog to be steady. Can you imagine that? Like if you're fighting in a battle and your general is like, you know, little perturbed, you're like, oh, okay. And I ain't never see him like that.
Oh, yeah. The fact that you're worried worries me.
Yes. Like,
Yeah.
Okay. And so he's rattled. But, you know, if you see somebody who's like, you know, stoic about it, like, oh, look, this we had to deal with it. It's fine. Let's move forward. Let's move on. Right? And a clear picture. And I think that's where they are right now. This game will give them that. Let me put it this way. This game will give them that chance and opportunity to bring themselves back to where they need to be.
Yeah, just on the right track.
The right track, man.
Not even like, you know, killing it, just like looking like okay and good again. I think they've gotten worried that it hasn't corrected itself yet. They just thought like, oh, we've had some rough patches before. We'll be scoring 40 points in no time. Like it'll just happen, right? And then every week's like, hasn't happened. The next week, didn't happen again. When are we going to start worrying about this? And I think it's like, holy shit, week 17. What the hell are we going to do? The playoffs are 3 weeks away. What are we going to do?
Well, now we're at the point where we're almost hoping EB gets fired.
That's what we're saying. We're talking about EB now.
Hey, EB. Hey, listen. Can you come home? We need you.
I'm not saying I want you to get fired, but if you do get fired, come back for a couple. We'll get you a nice place at the Ritz. You'll stay for a month. You'll just chill out, and you go back home afterwards.
Right. You might have to start having anonymous phone calls coming in. Yeah, EB, he's terrible, he sucks, and you know, all type of things. You're funny, but
I heard you wanted to win another Super Bowl, EB. How about you come on back? Let's do it.
Right.
That's the pitch.
Well, shoot, bring a couple of guys with you.
Yeah, bring Terry Dotson and Curtis Samuel with you.
I'll take one. You guys are getting greedy, man. Just take one.
One is good.
I'll just do one.
Yeah. But you got some more film on the check down, or was that the only one you had? Or was that
was the only Chiefs one in that file you sent over?
Okay. No, that's fine. But that's what a check down is. You know, it is. I mean, really. So it's not just the short passes. You know, we seen, and I was looking at next stat, Gian, and what I did was I was looking at the distribution of passes, and so I started looking at different quarterbacks, and I'm like, well, Pat ain't that much different from a lot of other ones. I'm gonna give you a couple names too. That there was a lot of short passes. Josh Allen was one. Joe Burrow was another one. And I'm like, a lot of guys are utilizing short passes. A lot of those guys. Now, there might be some deep passes, obviously, that you see a lot more than what the Chiefs. I'm going to say a lot more than the Chiefs' deep passes. But that whole range from like 12 to 15 to 20, we right there neck and neck with a lot of guys.
James White and Kevin Falk are catching the 5 to 7 balls a game during some stretches.
Come on, man. That's yes. I think this last game was a little bit different because we needed to get something going. So that's why you see them just, you know, a more screen game of just trying to get the ball to Kelsey, let him do something, get the ball to Rice, get a running back screen. Let's just get something going. Let's get something positive because we're not doing anything right now, right? And so, and I go back to, you know, they had a good game plan. They had a good game plan for us.
Marks and I were just talking about this recently, and I was saying how I think it's going to surprise a lot of people of how much we prioritize running back this offseason. A lot more than I think a lot of people realize because McKinnon's on a year-to-year deal. CEH is gone. And Pacheco, although I love the way he runs, man,
it's not sustainable.
Those shoulder issues with his size and the kind of way he runs, not sustainable, like you just said. And we're going to need a guy who can do that sometimes, but also be like a badass pass catcher. I'm not saying go Gibbs like Detroit did, but that kind of thought in mind. That guy who can tote the rock through the middle 6 to 8 times a game, but also catch like 5 for like 50, 5 for 45.
Guy could do it all. You know.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like an A-chain type.
Yeah.
A-chain.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I don't think he wasn't like a top 2 round pick. He was a mid like 3rd or 4th guy.
No, man.
Yeah,
You can
yeah, he was a 4th rounder.
those guys are out there. You can have to get those guys.
I mean, yeah, Pacheco 7th rounder. So yeah,
exactly.
They exist.
We need the pass catching version of Pacheco, a young version of that.
Yeah.
And before anybody says we're not kicking Pacheco to the curb, no, we're not doing.
We're trying to prolong his career.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and absolutely.
All right. So okay, so now we got these Twitter arguments that JD's been getting into out of the way. So hopefully people now know that JD just taught what a check down is. So whoever that was you were arguing with, and then the other person making the EB thing about race. I'm not even don't even have to talk about that. It's just dumb. Okay, so Teja, let's begin here with your week 17 same game.
I do that. Yes, comments. Marshall, that's exactly what we thought CEH was. Basically a rich man's version of what we wanted CEH to be. Exactly. You hit it on the head.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start from the top here. Let's see if this one works this time. Chiefs -2.5.
Whoa.
Not much of an explanation here. This is one of the most must-win games we've probably had outside of the do-or-die playoff games in the past, 5 years. And even here, I bought it down to 2.5. So you can see how worried I am. So in case we only win by a field goal, there's that bet. Mahomes over 1.5 passing touchdowns. So he's only done this once in the last 4 games. But the Bengals defense has given this up at least 2 passing touchdowns in 3 of the last 4 games. That would also be Rudolph, Mullins, and Trevor Lawrence. So something has to give here between this cold streak of Mahomes and this, Bengals allowing 2 touchdowns. I think Mahomes wins it out. Nice little slump buster for him. Mixon under 58.5 rushing yards. So I have Mixon in fantasy championship, admittedly. He's gone under 50 yards rushing in each of his last 2 games, along with his carries decreasing to 10 and 11 the last 2 games. They have his rushing attempt number at 10.5. So let's go ahead and round up a bit. Say he hits the over. Let's say he has 11. He would need to average 5.4 yards a carry to get over 58.5. He's done that once this year. So I'm betting against taking under when he's only averaging 3.9. So I'm betting on closer to his season average. Rashee Rice over 55.5 receiving yards. So we know the track record. He's done this in 5 straight games. He hasn't had less than 6 catches in that span, nor has he had less than 9 targets in that span. If he gets 9 targets, 55.5 is a lot. I also don't need another reason to take that bet, but the Bengals have allowed the top wide receiver option to hit that mark in all games this season except for 1. So there's also that. And that was the Browns in week 1. Travis Kelce over 47.5 receiving yards. So Kelce has not done this in his last 2. So similar to Mahomes, I just expect a slump buster here. The Bengals, whenever they face a premier tight end in the most recent games, Hawkinson 63, Ingram 82, even Freiermuth at 120. The other 2 games in that period were Steelers last week. Pickens had 200 yards rushing, so barely anyone got any catches that game. And the Colts were the other team, and they normally have a premier number 1 receiver. So, I just expect some slump busting this weekend.
JD, what are you thinking?
Okay. The Chiefs, -2.5. Good bet. To me, I think the Chiefs are going to win this handily, to be honest with you. I really do. I know both teams have to win. I think the Chiefs are really fighting for their identity going into the playoffs and getting themselves back. Okay. Right now, Cincinnati's just trying to hold on. They're just trying to hold on to something. I don't know how healthy Jamar Chase is. He's going to play practice. He's talking noise and stuff like that. We'll see how much he's actually getting when he gets out there. Browning is a good quarterback. He's been doing a good job since he's been out there. But I do believe Chiefs -2.5 is going to win. Mahomes over 1.5 passing touchdowns. I do believe that's going to happen. I do believe. So I had 2 touchdowns rushing and 2 passing, Teja. So I think that's a bet right there. Mixon under 58.5 yards rushing yards. Okay, that's the one to me. That's a little questionable.
Okay.
It's a little questionable because that's really all they have, and so Mixon has been at times playing us. He'll get some tough yards. He's really slick and doing things. And I've seen the last 2 games, but I checked out the games before that. He had I think 79 and 69, something like that, if I'm not mistaken. But that's the only one that's kind of a question to me. Rice over 55.5 receiving yards. Hopefully he will. Hopefully he will. I think he will. I think he'll give us that. He's our number 1 guy. So I still believe he'll get somewhere about 60 or 70 yards. Kelsey over 47.5 receiving yards. Kelsey's going to be somewhere around 80 or 90, if not getting 100 yards this game. It's going to be hard for him to stay with Kelsey. And I'm telling you right now, man, he's a man on a mission. And he's pissed. He's been embarrassed. And I think he's going to be the guy to prove what's going on. I'm almost believing we were talking about voices in the locker room who's been talking. Travis Kelce would be the guy to me who would shut the doors on the coaches and say, look, we need to have a conversation. So I think he'll definitely get over the 47.5 receiving yards. So they all look pretty good, Teja. Like I said, the Mixon under 58.5 rushing yards. I didn't like what we wasn't able to accomplish at the end of the game last week. Didn't like it at all. So
yeah, I mean, so his 3 games, his last 3 games against us rushing yards, 19, 86, and 46. The only reason I like Mixon, I drafted him in a couple leagues, and in both leagues I'm actually still in the championship in. He's been getting a lot of passing work mixed in, but his carries have been going down. They like their backup Brown. They've been giving him more and more work. That's the part that scares me as a runner. And when I saw that his over-under for carries was 10.5, I'm like, oh, man, even if you beat that by, let's say 2 carries. Let's say he gets 12. He'd still need to pretty much average like 5 yards per carry for 12 carries, So he just hasn't really done that this year. I like Mixon. I just think it's either their O-line that's been troublesome or he just looks a little half step behind what he was last year.
Yeah. I'm not sure because I'm looking at you and Chase Brown, and neither one of them could really do anything because they was getting so bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Pittsburgh.
I know.
They bailed on it.
Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, no, it's been they've had a rough time.
So you like all of them besides the Mixon one. So
yeah, I like all of them. The Mixon one is just because, like I said, at the end of the game and whatnot.
Well, I hope they're not running out the clock for Bengals victory, JD.
No, me either.
I hope they're not pulling a David Montgomery on us.
No.
Hope not.
Or Javonte Williams.
Or Zamir White at the end of the game.
Zamir White, yeah. You roll them off. But I'll tell you what, though, if they are winning, that's definitely the kind of guy who'll rip off like 30 yards on that one drive.
Yeah. And I will say, when we played them, the guy who really dominated us between the two of them was Samaji. Samaji being the one who dominated us.
Kareem was always kryptonite, no doubt.
Yeah. So it actually might be Chase Brown, some catches out of the backfield if they're going to use him in the same P. Ryan kind of role. I don't know. All right, so my bet is kind of similar to Teja's here. I went a big time Kelsey and Mahomes bounce back this week. So spread of this game was 7. It's dropped down to 6.5. 60% of public money is behind the Bengals to cover the spread of this game. I think we're going to win by at least a touchdown. So in case it does go to overtime and we win and we score a touchdown, obviously you don't kick the extra point there. You win by 6, done. You're covered. I do think we're going to win by more than that. So yeah, I think 5.5 is safe there. We need this game. We need it. And if we do win this game, it's going to be a handsome win. Mahomes over 270.5 passing yards. I went through the last 4 games of playing against the Bengals. Obviously, Mahomes has exceeded the 270 passing yards 8 times this season. But last 4 games against the Bengals, 326 yards, 223 yards, 275, 259. So kind of all over the map of the last 4 matchups with them. I think with Pacheco banged up with the come back from the concussion, he practiced today, so he might play. But like we said last week, we thought we were going to use him kind of sparingly coming after the shoulder surgery. So we're talking 2 weeks in a row, shoulder surgery and now concussion. I do not think we're going to utilize him a lot. I don't think we're going to give Pacheco make him be a bell cow this week. I just don't see that happening. I see Mahomes, kind of breaking through this week. And to do that, he's going to use our guy Kelsey. We'll get to Kelsey in a second here. Mahomes over 1.5 passing touchdowns last 4 games against the Bengals. He's had exceeded this all but one time against them, and that was actually last year we played them at Cincinnati. He had 1 passing touchdown that game. He also had a rushing touchdown in that game too, though. But yeah, there's only passing touchdowns.
Rudolph and Mullins had 2 touchdowns.
I know.
Okay.
I will say though, Pittsburgh does the receiving weapons are a little. They got a little more over there than we do as far as receiving weapons.
They did last year too. Rudolph and
Pickett
and whoever else wasn't throwing 40 touchdowns.
That's true. I agree. But yes, I think over 1.5 passing touchdowns. I think we're going to see a vintage Patty performance. I've been saying it for the last few weeks, but I'm bound to be right here at one of these points. So Kelsey over 55.5 receiving yards. Looking at his last 4 games, I mean, he dominates Cincinnati and historically dominates them. But then on top of that, Teja kind of referenced it. Cincinnati ranks last in the NFL to giving up catches and yards to tight ends this year. But looking at last 4 games, Kelsey, last time he played them last year, playoffs, 7 for 78, touchdown. Played them during the season last year, 4 for 56. And then playoffs 2 years ago, 10 for 95 and a touchdown. And then that season, he had 5 catches for 25 yards and a touchdown. So I almost put a touchdown bet for Kelsey here because I think he's way past due for that. I hasn't scored a touchdown since like week 5, I think, or week 6. I forgot the number there. But yeah, overall, if you look at his yards here, he's exceeded the 55.5 yards every time. The last time, besides 3 out of the last 4 times, he's exceeded that. I think he's going to dominate them, like JD said. If you are certain that Kelsey's going to have a big game, I think you could even have an alt line and make it like 90 yards. You're making a lot of money on that one. I think it's like plus 255 to have like 80 or 90 yards in this game for him. So yeah, I do think he's going to have a big game. And I do think he's the guy. You listen to his podcast this week. This guy's pissed off. He's playing against a team that is coming from his college town. So like he's going to want, if any team, this is a team he's going to prove it against and do his thing against. And
it's a nice extra edge to have for sure.
Oh yeah. And then lastly, sticking with Kelsey, over 5.5 catches. The only thing I will say, Cincinnati ranks the worst against giving up catches with tight ends. So that's the stat there. But over 5.5 catches, he's only done that 2 out of the last 4 times playing against the Bengals. But I do think they're going to make it a concerted effort to get him the ball this week to show him, show the world that he's still got it. He hasn't lost a step and that he's pissed off and he's going to get his numbers. Yeah, because a lot of people are starting to say people are not only saying he's losing a step, but they're saying look at his numbers comparatively to last year, specifically his touchdown numbers. Everyone keeps bringing that up. He had 12 touchdowns receiving last year. It's kind of tough to continue that every year, guys. But yeah, I think Kelsey dominates this week, and you get all that. It's 25 to win $156.25. So that's those are my 5. JD, what do you think about these?
So yeah, I definitely believe the Chiefs the negative 5.5 without a doubt. I had my sheet exactly what I thought I think it was going to be 28-14. I think that's what I had on the score. So I definitely believe that's going to happen. Mahomes over 270.5 passing. I do believe that's going to happen. I think this is like, to me, they're saying we got to have a big game throwing the football. We had to have a big game. And the leader of that is going to be Travis Kelce. He's going to be the one leading the way. And so I do believe Travis is going to have close up to maybe 100-something yards, if not over 100 yards receiving, and then everybody's going to fit their in. And then it might be where you see Patrick getting the ball out of his hand quickly, maybe utilizes more of the check downs, some swing routes to our backs. It is going to help out too. I think Richie James may get a little bit more looks I'm hoping he is.
Yeah, me too.
Because that'd be big, man. We get him involved. Trying to lean on him a little bit more. But Mahomes over 1.5 passing touchdowns. I do believe he's going to have at least 2 this game. I do. You said who had 2 touchdowns?
Nick Mullins and Mason Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer.
Oh man, Nick Mullins and Mace Rudolph. Yeah, Pat's gonna have 2. Pat, like, if they got 2, I'm gonna get 2. He got 2, I'm gonna get 3. So I think it's gonna happen. Kelsey over 55.5 receiving yards. He'll crush that. He'll crush that. I think he'll tell Patrick, look, in doubt, I don't care if I'm covered, throw the ball to me. I'm gonna make a play for you. So we'll see if he's lost a step or he's not the same guy. He's had a lot on his plate, a lot on his shoulders. One was, he came in and wasn't healthy. He had to get back to his form. They've been giving him a little bit more breaks, which is fine. That's all right. Preserve him. But I think this is the game right here that you're going to turn him loose, right? Take the chains off of him, turn him loose. You go do what you want to do today, Kelsey. Okay, we're going to let you have it. And then Kelsey over 5.5 receptions. I think he's going to be somewhere around 8 or 9. No doubt about it. I mean, just feed him. Feed the guy. Feed him, what do they call him, the Yeti? Feed the Yeti.
Yeah,
feed the Yeti. Yeah. Feed that joker, man. Feed him. This would be a good game for him. This would be a really good game for him. So the bet $25 win 156.25. It's a good bet.
Pretty solid.
Yeah.
JD, we come to the part where you have to decide between one of the Dash brothers. Whose side are you?
I already know which one he's picking.
Oh, yeah. Well, I kind of voiced it before. The only thing I had was the Mixon under 58.5 rushing yards. But
you have us winning 28-14. It's pretty.
Yeah. How do you, if the way you kind of see it going, how do you see them scoring?
I hope Mixon.
Yeah, Mixon might be. Yeah, he might be.
It's both of them.
Yeah, I think Mixon and of course, they're going to try corners. They're going to try it. Snead's going to be at the game, so why not try? They're our young guys. And so if that softens up some of the coverage so you can run the football, then that's what they end up doing. My thing is I'll try to bring as much pressure as possible on Browning, right? Try to make him get rid of the ball early. Press these guys immediately right now. But that's where Jamar Chase, he really kills you. Is like when you try to press him immediately, I mean, he just beats you. So you got to be ready for that. When we played up here last time, he made our young corners look like young corners. And so this would be a great challenge for them. Like, hey, not again. It's not. They've been locking people down, and we seen how. Who was it? Was it Williams or Watson that had opened up, stopped the pass at the end of the game last week?
Oh, last week that was Watson.
That was Watson. Yeah, did a great job opening it up, man. He just found the football, playing it perfectly, textbook. So hopefully we'll see a lot more of that. But this will be a good task, man. Be a good task for it.
Josh Williams actually had a good game against in the playoffs last year. Remember, he was the one that had the tip who and then Cook ended up intercepting it.
Yeah, he was beat on that one. Thank God he was underthrown a little bit.
That's true.
He just happened to get it up there.
Length.
Yeah.
Over under 1.5 sacks against Orlando Brown.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm. Forgot about that, did you?
Oh my goodness.
It's a good number. I just made that up. It's a good number.
Yeah, it is. Under.
Really?
Wow, really?
Yeah, Atlanta, he ain't gonna give up 2. He'll hold you before you get 2 on him.
Yeah. All right. Over under 3 penalties on him. 2.5.
It's like they get back there. No. You get a holding call, that's fine. But as far as getting a sack, I'm not about to let them rub into my face.
Yeah, over under 3.5 penalties plus sacks for Orlando Brown.
Yeah. I'm not giving them up. I'll hold you there before I let that happen.
That's funny.
Yeah. But the bet, just talking about it, I do believe that Marcus has the more reasonable bet on this this week, Teja. I hope I'm wrong. Put it that way. I hope I'm wrong. All right. So
I hope I hope Teja and I both make out on this because potentially looking at the bets, and we have pretty much the same kind of bets here. The Kelsey yards, Mahomes touchdowns. The only thing we have is the Mixon, the whole Mixon thing. But yes, and we can all win this one, especially if the game script goes in a way where we dominate them. They'll ban the run altogether, and no Mixon. Mixon barely gets even.
Mixon catches like 7 balls.
There you go.
Give me like 7 balls for like 21 yards. I'll still be a very happy man.
yeah, get it.
Yeah, go for KC forever. Hope you guys, Chief Concerns are having great holidays and all of Chiefs Kingdom. Hoping for a Chiefs win. Go Chiefs. Thank you. Go for KC
That's
forever.
nice.
Yeah, very nice.
That's
Very
nice.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Happy New Year. Happy holidays.
2 years for sure. All right.
So just to give everyone a kind of briefer, so we won't meet again until Sunday on New Year's. It'll be a quick show, and everyone's got some things to do. But that episode will be on Bleacher Report. So directly after the game, I'll make the post on Twitter. Directly after the game, go to Bleacher Report, and then we'll recap hopefully the big win in Kansas City on New Year's and 2023 on a nice note, a season of up and downs. You know, we started 2023 on a great note, obviously with the Super Bowl, and then we're going to end 2023 on a good note, beating the Bengals, and then hopefully that lasts through the next 3 months, so we can bring home another Lombardi to Kansas City.
That's right, man. I'm looking for them guys to do it, man. Dig themselves out of this hole, this little rut they have, come back, man, and surprise everybody. Surprise the fans, surprise all these naysayers and whatnot. And I've said this, and I'm going to keep making this point. There's nobody in the NFL that is not unbeatable. We've seen that. No one. And the ones that are ahead of us, we done beat Miami, okay? We done toe-to-toe with Philly. Should have beat them. The Bills should have beat them. And there's all these people up here, we can handle all of that. We match up really well with everybody. We really do. We just need to put it together. I think Tracy K was talking about that. Eliminate the penalties, right? Make plays, keep focused, and just keep moving the chains. Our defense is playing incredible football right now. Incredible football. So,
and nobody wants to play Kansas City in the playoffs. I don't care what everyone's saying. Our offense doesn't look right. Nobody wants to play Kansas City in the playoffs.
Nobody.
No.
Nobody. So,
yeah.
Hang your hat on that one.
Exactly. And one thing everyone's talking about, the Bills being the scariest team in the AFC. The Bills just went toe-to-toe with Easton Stick last Saturday night. They almost lost to the Chargers and that whole mess of a team. Okay, so the Bills do not scare me whatsoever. And you mentioned that the Kadarius Toney, the lateral, that play, if they never call that play, Bills are pretty much eliminated from playoffs. They're fighting for a last spot because right now they could potentially still win their division. We win that game, there's no division for the Bills. They're still fighting to get into the playoffs. But because that thing happened, we're and like you said, that had domino effects to us mentally.
I'm upset with the game. We didn't have Isaiah Pacheco, Donovan Smith. We had 2 chances where we down in the red zone, didn't score. We could have went up. I watched that game last night, and I was still furious with it. And it wasn't even the penalty. It was everything else around it where we had chances just to actually blow them out of water.
Yeah.
We had Buffalo on the ropes, man. We just didn't put them away.
Yeah. We've had a lot of bad luck this season, a lot of these unfortunate plays that just didn't work in our favor. And sometimes, I was saying this to Mark the other day. I think a lot of stuff used to fall in our favor, and we are also playing great. I think now it's both are the opposite. We're not playing great, and things are having bad luck, bad circumstances.
Right.
It sucks. But hey, despite that, still first in division.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But all right, guys. So we'll see everybody Sunday after the Bengals and Chiefs game on Bleacher Report. And for those of you who won't catch the actual live stream on Bleacher Report, don't worry. It'll be on our channel. I'll make sure to have that on our channel before I head out for New Year's festivities. But all right, everybody. Love everybody, and we'll see you guys Sunday.
Love y'all, man. Appreciate everybody coming out there. Noah, John Marshall, John Clifford, Holly, Go Forever KC, John Clifford, Tracy, all of y'all. Appreciate every single body that came in and said something.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate the love, everybody, as always. Take it easy, fellas.
Later on.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out the best clips from Chief Concerns. And if you prefer to listen to the show, subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify,